I woke to the sharp crack of wood splitting, a sound like a rifle shot piercing the quiet morning. At first, I chalked it up to a storm snapping a tree branch, but when I stumbled to the window, still groggy, the sight outside jolted me awake. My neighbor Laura, the iron-fisted president of our homeowners association in Maplewood Estates, was tearing through my oak privacy fence on her ATV, plowing through the panels like they were tissue paper. Splinters flew in every direction, my dog Max howled like he'd lost his mind, and Laura's auburn hair flailed wildly as she carved a reckless path through my backyard in suburban Willow Creek, Ohio, on a crisp October morning in 2024. By the time I scrambled outside, she'd circled back, engine roaring, ready for another pass. Deep tire tracks scarred my lawn, and my $5,000 fence, barely a year old, had a gaping hole wide enough for a pickup truck. I yelled over the engine's growl, demanding to know what she thought she was doing. Laura, with a smirk that could curdle milk, shouted back, "This route's safer for my ATV than the gravel path out front. You should thank me for breaking it in." I stood there, stunned, as she killed the engine, hopped off like she owned the place, and patted my arm. "Relax, Tom. This'll make life easier for both of us. You won't even miss the fence." Miss it? She'd obliterated 30 feet of solid oak, turning my private yard into her personal racetrack. When I gave her 10 seconds to get off my property before I called the cops, she rolled her eyes, muttered about me being unneighborly, and revved her ATV, smashing through another section just to widen her so-called shortcut. That's when it hit me. Laura didn't just think she could do this, she believed she had the right. And if I didn't play this smart, my yard would look like a monster truck rally by spring. When the police arrived, Laura flipped on her charm, claiming my fence was an illegal barrier to community access. The officer wasn't buying it, especially when I showed him the survey plat, an HOA approval signed by Laura herself. Her face twisted when she saw her own signature, but the cop just warned her to stay off my property and left. As soon as he was gone, Laura peeled out, spraying dirt across my porch and yelling, "This isn't over." It was like a scene from a bad movie, but I knew she meant it. Laura didn't see herself as a trespasser. She saw herself as the queen of Maplewood Estates, and I'd just challenged her crown. I called my insurance that night, sending photos of the wreckage. The agent started out sympathetic but clammed up when I mentioned Laura's HOA title, mumbling about complications and suggesting I settle it quietly. That's when I realized Laura wasn't just my neighbor, she was the petty dictator of our quiet cul-de-sac. 2 days later, a letter arrived from the HOA board, accusing me of blocking community pathways with my fence and demanding I tear it down within 30 days or face fines. The same fence they'd approved. It was clear now, Laura wasn't after a shortcut. She wanted control. My tall fence blocked her view, her power, her self-proclaimed dominion. Smashing it was her way of putting me in my place. But Laura didn't know me. I'm patient, sharp with a pen, and a stickler for receipts. If she wanted a war of rules, I'd bury her in her own red tape. I appealed the HOA violation, attaching the signed approval and copying the city zoning office. I installed security cameras, logged every tire track, and documented every incursion. When Laura crashed through another panel the next weekend, I had a police report ready to go. Digging into the HOA bylaws at the county clerk's office, I found gold. No easement rights existed across private property, and board members were personally liable for damages caused in their official capacity. Laura wasn't just on the hook for my fence, she was on the hook herself, not the HOA's insurance. I had her cornered, and all I had to do was let her keep digging. The escalation came faster than I expected. 3 mornings later, I woke to hammering. Laura and her husband Greg, who I'd never seen touch a tool, were tearing down my fence at 6 a.m. Laura, in sweatpants and slippers, barked orders while Greg yanked boards like a man possessed. I demanded they stop. She laughed, saying the HOA had voted my fence a violation and they were doing me a favor. I called the cops again, handing over the bylaws and my permit. The officer made them drop their tools, and Laura's smug grin vanished. That night, a handwritten note appeared in my mailbox, scrawled in red ink. "Your fence is a danger to this neighborhood. Remove it, or you'll regret it. Concerned residents." It was Laura's handwriting, as subtle as a sledgehammer. Her ATV raids became relentless, carving muddy ruts across my lawn like battle scars. I fought back, installing steel core posts and motion-activated sprinklers. The first time she barreled through at midnight, a blast of icy water soaked her, her scream echoing down the block. A neighbor texted me a play-by-play, laughing so hard he could barely type. But instead of backing off, Laura doubled down, storming my porch the next day, dripping wet and reeking of gasoline. "You're assaulting me," she shrieked. I told her to explain her 2 a.m. trespassing to a judge. She stomped off, vowing revenge. At the next HOA meeting, Laura unveiled her boldest move, a motion to charge every resident thousands to bulldoze my fence and pave her shortcut as a community trail. The room froze. Even her loyalists squirmed. A neighbor asked why we'd pay for a path that only served Laura's backyard. She sputtered about emergency access, but when I pointed out that no fire truck could fit her ATV trail, the room turned. Whispers grew to murmurs, and someone muttered, "She just wants her joyride." The vote failed spectacularly 18-2, with only Laura and her friend Diane in favor. Her reign was cracking. A week later, a new notice appeared on my door, signed only HOA president, demanding I remove my fence. Laura had gone rogue. I hired a lawyer, handing over a binder stuffed with evidence, videos, photos, police reports, bylaws. He called it a slam dunk case: trespass, destruction, harassment, abuse of power. I didn't file immediately, letting Laura's tantrums pile up more evidence. When I finally sued for $200,000, she didn't flinch. At an emergency HOA meeting, she called my lawsuit frivolous and vowed to crush me. She believed she was untouchable. She was wrong. Laura's next move was chaos. She stuffed every neighbor's mailbox with copies of my lawsuit, circling the $200,000 in red ink, accusing me of tanking property values. She begged for donations to her legal defense fund. Some neighbors laughed. Others, like Diane, started collecting cash. Laura even filed a counterclaim, alleging my fence caused her emotional trauma and my sprinklers endangered her life. My lawyer laughed, saying her blurry ATV photo would only strengthen my case. Her nightly ATV raids intensified, headlights blazing into my windows at 2 a.m., but every stunt was recorded, every call to the police logged. Then her allies turned. At the next HOA meeting, neighbors revolted, tired of her drama and stuffed mailboxes. Someone moved to oust her as president. It didn't pass, but the seed was planted. A week later, the county cited me for illegal structures after an anonymous tip, obviously Laura's. The inspector, rolling his eyes, said her address was notorious for fake complaints. Discovery uncovered her emails to Diane, plotting to make my fence unusable. When Laura realized her own words betrayed her, she lost it, screaming in my driveway that I'd regret crossing her. The final blow came when my lawyer found her financials. Laura was underwater on her mortgage, pocketing the HOA stipend, and draining her legal fund. My lawsuit could bankrupt her, maybe cost her house. It should have felt like victory, but it was surreal. This all started over a shortcut. Now she faced ruin. The night she crossed into criminal territory, I'll never forget. At midnight, my cameras caught her ramming my fence head-on, splintering boards, and wrecking her ATV. She staggered off, dazed, accusing me of sabotage. When she swung a broken post at my porch light, shattering it, I thought she'd come for me next. Instead, she fled, leaving her crippled ATV in my yard. The police impounded it, charging her with trespass, destruction, and reckless endangerment. Her reputation shattered. Neighbors whispered about restraining orders. A week later, an anonymous HOA petition proposed arbitration to resolve our dispute, sneakily giving the HOA power to seize part of my yard. The board, fed up, rejected it. At the next meeting, the treasurer called out Laura's backyard hobby, an emotion to remove her past. She screamed, "You'll regret betraying me," and stormed out. Her house went into foreclosure, her lawyer quit, and then, one night, my camera caught her on my porch with a gas can. I shouted through the intercom. She bolted. The police arrested her for attempted arson. In court, my binder of evidence, videos, emails, reports dwarfed Laura's crumpled notes. The judge awarded me $200,000, payable by Laura personally. She screamed about tyranny, but it was over. Her house was foreclosed, her SUV vanished, and she fled town. A month later, I heard she was suing a grocery store 2 towns over for emotional damages. Some people never change. My fence stands tall now, my yard quiet. The HOA hums along, debating pool hours, not vendettas. Neighbors still ask about the ATV lady, and I tell the tale with calm satisfaction. Laura wanted a shortcut. She got a long road of court fees and ruin instead. What do you think? Did Laura deserve her downfall, or was she just a product of unchecked power? Could I have stopped this sooner, or was the long game the only way? Drop your thoughts below, and if you enjoyed this saga, hit like and subscribe for more.